We had the opportunity to come down to Cape Town, and next to me here I have Sky from Metalian. We always wondered where our Genie comes from, what happens at the factory, and where was it created.
In 2010, we were invited actually by a friend of mine. His parents had a trip planned through Namibia, and they essentially invited us to join them on this trip with my dad, my mom, I think my younger sister came with, and then it was them and another couple. We'd never been camping. We aren't campers, as you know, as it goes. We're actually just manufacturers. I was actually still at school at that point. My dad said, okay, well, let's kit ourselves up to go on a camping trip. So he bought an old red Kia Sorento. It was a 2008 model, and then we didn't have any camping gear, so we bought some ground tents. We basically set off on this trip to go to Namibia. And while we were on our way back down, we stopped along the Orange River. The ladies had gone for a walk. My mom and Marilyn and Meg, they went for a walk. And they came back and they said, you guys should come and see this trailer that's on the side of the river. It's like super kitted. The guys all got up and they went around to go and look at it. And my dad sort of looked at it, being in manufacturing and working with steel. He's been in manufacturing now for, I think it's 45 years now. He said, well, what does it cost and this and that, and at the end of it he said, I think there's an opportunity here. So we all went back to our camp, and I think it was that night, it was actually his 50th birthday at that point, and he said to them all, well, next year we'll go on another camp, we'll do it, but we went up to Botswana the second time around, and he said, I'll build us each a trailer for next year. When he came back, he sort of forgot about it, and he was flying back from China. I think it was like in April of the year that we were going to go, and we left around June of the year. And then he said, oh, I got to build these 3 trailers now. So he started drawing while he was on the plane on the way back, and he got it all sorted, and then he went into manufacturing, and he built 3 immediately. He built those 3, and off we went that year. And that was the first trailers for Metalian that were ever made.
Awesome. The name Metalian, where does that actually come from?
My sister must have been about 3 or maybe 4 years old, and she found something in our garden. I can't remember what it was. I think my dad told me recently that it was like the cap of a can, the little pull ring of a can. And she came to him and she said, Daddy, is this a Metalian thingy? And he sort of, when he heard the name, he said he was like, oh, that's a cool name.
Makes sense,
Okay, Metalian. And he went and did some research and looked online and tried to figure out if there was anything in the world like that. And he registered the name about a week after he'd heard it from her, which would have been in like 1998, 1999, somewhere around there. And he always said he didn't know what he was going to use it for, but he'll use it one day. And so when we built the trailers, his idea was that he looked at the market and he said he wants to appeal to an international market. And the name Metalian, even though it's not like a traditional camping trailer name, it would appeal more to an international market than being just stuck into a South African market. And so that's pretty much where the name came from.
What is your manufacturing process, and how do you go about manufacturing these awesome trailers?
The trailer build starts off with the laser cutting and bending, obviously procurement of material, that sort of thing. We have to run the production in a couple of different ways. The first one is that we manufacture the boxes, or let's say the bodies of the trailer, more in a sort of production line method. And the reason for that is that if we have to make a single box for a single order, there's obviously economies of scale that come with doing things in production, but we don't always have production orders in the way that we'll have like 10 Genies to do at a time, or 10 Parthians, or 10 Maxis. So that part of the business, we can procure the material for, let's say, 10 Genie boxes, and we will then run those 10 Genie boxes on the laser, and we'll bend them up, and the guys will start welding them together. So we'll have a stock holding of parts for each of the boxes of the trailers. And then as the orders come through, we'll then put a work order to the welders to either weld up a Genie or a Parthian or a Maxi or a bow hunter. After the welding process, we then obviously go to finishing, so that's grinding. All of the corners of the box are hand ground. And then we've got a sealing area, which is so it's grinding and sealing is in one unit. From there, which is basically a preparation for powder coating, the box then goes to powder coating, and we'll get it back depending on what their backlog is. It could be 3 to 7 working days. Once it comes back, we've got a division that sprays the underbody coating on the bottom of the trailer, and then it comes out of there onto the assembly floor where we do the final assembly.
When the team took us through the tent manufacturing section there, I mean, these guys are real good at what they do.
We're very fortunate that the guys really, this division is extremely good. They know what to do, they're very capable. We made a decision to bring in a canvas manufacturing side, or a canvas division, because, tent manufacturers obviously want to make the same things as a one size fits all for any product on the market that's going to give them the biggest return on their product.
Yes.
And we realized that we needed something which was slightly different to what was being offered in the market, and it's difficult to get another manufacturer to make exactly what you want, especially where it is a little bit bespoke. And so for us it was a no-brainer that we could offer a product that was better suited to our own product competitively.
Yes. Yeah. The materials that you use for your different trailers, what are those materials, and why did you choose those materials?
For all of the bodies of the trailers that we do, that being the Genie, Parthian, bow hunter and Maxi, we use 3CR12 for the main construction. 3CR12 is a very nice material where it has the anti-corrosive materials, not as good as stainless steel or 304 or 316, but it's still generally regarded as very highly anti-corrosion. It's also more malleable or bendable than stainless steel is. It doesn't harden or what you would say.
It's not as brittle.
Yeah, it's not as brittle as what 304, 316 stainless steel would be. So it's got those as benefits. In that way, it obviously allows us to provide a product that's going to generally last longer than a product made out of mild steel or something that's maybe not, the word to use is not lesser material, because all materials have their own uses. We use mild steel in some other parts of the trailer, like the rear bars and the couplers and stuff like that. In that particular application for the body, we just found that it was the best usable material. Talking about the mild steel that we use, we'll generally use mild steel in a part of the trailer where it's going to be affected more by the use of the trailer. So where the leaf springs connect onto the trailer, that's a mild steel angle. So we make it a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier. It's obviously got some vibration going through it, but it's not going to harden, or it's less likely to crack than what stainless would be, or even 3CR12.
So it depends on the structural purpose of the actual part.
Correct.
Whether it be the chassis or the actual monocoque design.
It's the same reason that a leaf spring is it's obviously a high carbon material, but it's nowhere near to stainless. It obviously has to be tempered and get its flexibleness like that. Yeah.
Cool. We noticed that all your designs are based on the monocoque design.
Yeah.
Why did you choose that specific direction of the design?
The main reason that we chose it is that we can save weight. If you look at what we produce, I'm pretty certain that we've got the highest pack volume per kilogram of trailer in the market. And generally, if you want to build a trailer now with a chassis on it, that chassis is going to weigh 100 kilos. So it's like taking an extra 100 kilos and packing it in your trailer for no reason, if you can get away with the monocoque body, let's say. Being in the market now for 13 years, I think it's proven to be a very tough, very rugged, very reliable design.
Correct. And we know from a Genie perspective, we went for the Genie because of the monocoque design, knowing that it's so much lighter than any of the other trailers. So.
When we started, we developed the Maxi first. And it's actually a little bit backwards because sometimes, or I would say most of the time, people would start off with a smaller product and then build their way up to like a exclusive model or something like that. But we actually started at the top end and we worked our way back down. In some ways that was good for us, and we obviously introduced the Parthian, we've introduced the Bow Hunter after that, and very recently the Genie and the unbraked Genie. We started off actually with the unbraked Genie and then bought the braked one in because there was a demand for that. So where it comes to the Maxi, the Parthian and the Bow Hunter, you've obviously got the sort of higher GVM models, the Maxi and the Parthian being 1.6 ton and the Bow Hunter being 1.25. And we've seen, as the years have gone by, there's been not less buyers in that sort of market, but there was obviously the change a good few years ago where they stopped issuing the EB licenses as a standard. And I think everyone below the age of 43 at the moment, if they didn't specifically go for the EB license when they did it, they then were issued a standard B license.
Correct.
And we essentially brought the Genie in to satisfy that portion of the market. So it's a much smaller trailer, it's much lighter. When we built the first unbraked unit, we got the tail weight in without many accessories or anything at 260 kilos, which is obviously quite low. If you're taking the 85 liters of water with it and you're taking all of the accessories in that, you're obviously not left with 400 kilos of pack weight, but you're still left with a reasonable amount. We then had to bring in the braked unit because with the Gymney, as far as I know, with the Gymney, you're only allowed to tow up
350.
to 350 unless you've got a brake trailer, and then you can take it up to 1060. So that was actually specifically for the Gymney market that we then brought in the braked. So it would have been for you actually that we did it. And at the time, I remember we placed the order.
That's right. And I contacted you guys and said, hang on, I think it has to be braked because I can't tow more than 350 kgs.
And I actually remember having the conversation with Gareth saying, just please tell Craig that we're not sure how long it's going to take because we have to go through the homologation process, and it was that takes time.
Yeah, but we were patient, and the patience paid off. So
absolutely, and we're very grateful for that because obviously it allowed us to get that unit onto the roads. If you look at sizing, it actually is quite simple. The Bow Hunter it's got a body size of 1650 by 1550. The Parthian has a body size in the length and the width of exactly the same, but it's 150 millimeters higher.
Okay.
And the Maxi then has the same height as the Parthian, but it's then 500 mil longer in the front.
Okay.
So that's it's not 500, it's 450 mil longer. So that's really the only differences between them. And then the drawbars for the Maxi are slightly longer as well because you've got a little bit more weight on the front, so you need to adjust for the distribution on that. But it's actually, in terms of the way that it's laid out, it's very similar for all of them.
Yeah, they just grow a little bit higher or grow a little bit longer.
We took the Maxi and we squashed it, and then we took the Parthian and we squashed it again, and we got the Bow Hunter.
Yeah. New products. I know you guys were working really hard on the Caravan.
Yep.
And it's a seriously amazing looking product. It's almost 1.5 times bigger than the Gymney, and I can never ever tow it with my Gymney, but it's a beautiful product.
And it's 30 millimeter insulated sidewalls, and it's got a pop-top roof that pops by 700 millimeters.
It's great because it's got everything that opens and folds and closes up, and a full shower actually. Lots of drawers, lots of storage space, even inside. Heather was quite amazed at how much space is inside for storage space. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful product.
You know, the amazing thing is that the Maxi is, once it's fully kitted with all of the drawers and options and full house tent, it's about 1 ton. It's probably just over 1 ton. And we got this one with a tear weight at 1.04.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
with the fridge and maybe, you know, the side walls for the awnings and a couple of other accessories, you might also come in at like 1.15, 1.2, but it's pretty crazy that you can fit that into
That's awesome.
the Maxi.
Now, we've also heard and we saw some videos on YouTube about the Genie X. Is this a in-between between the Genie and I think the Bow Hunter, just as a in-between solution?
You could say that it's between the Genie and the Bow Hunter. What we were surprised about was that with the Genie, we've seen a lot of guys with much bigger vehicles, and they've now taken the Genies and they've towed them through Namibia and Botswana and taken them on like some serious off-road adventures. And I mean, it wasn't really designed for being towed behind these larger vehicles. Because the problem is, you know, when you've got a larger vehicle and you've got a smaller trailer, you will tend to drive the way that you would with that vehicle. But you're not going to take your Jimny over the same track as a cruiser at the same speed with the trailer or without.
It's almost a slower life with a Jimny, yes.
A lot of people have seen, okay, we can fit all of these accessories, and I mean, it's got basically the same amenities as a Parthian Bow Hunter Maxi kind of configuration with a little bit less space, and they tend to go all out then, buy the very small trailer that's not meant for a big vehicle, and actually, you know, try and make it big, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we've now said, okay, what we'll do is we're going to build something which is maybe more for that market. So you can, if you're going to tow it with a cruiser, we recommend that you take it in a X version. It's going to be a slightly heavier GVM weight.
And a stronger axle as well.
Stronger axle. It'll be able to take larger tires. You know, you get these guys that want to put 31s and 33s onto a Genie, and that's just not possible. It'll compensate for that a little bit. At the same time, with a slightly heavier GVM, you have a little bit more option for, you know, larger tent, bigger packing area. It's got a space for a larger water tank as well. It's like a Uber Genie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Genie Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Genie X.
Genie X.
We bought a Genie trailer, and anybody else who's interested in any of the other trailers and so on, what backup do we have with our trailer?
We obviously design our product to last. We want to build something for the customer at the end of the day that's going to give them the ability to camp in the way that they want to. The most important thing is to get the customer into and out of the bush without a breakdown. The second most important thing is to do that without getting their clothes and goods wet and full of dust. And the third thing is to try and do that in as much comfort as possible. So that's generally how our sort of thought process works when we look at new designs or new products or even existing products. And if there's something that tends to give us an issue, we'll try and sort it out sooner rather than later. We also have a habit of designing as light as possible and trying to break it and then building it stronger from there. Especially coming from a small manufacturer like we are, we don't necessarily have access to as much finite element analysis as a bigger sort of manufacturer. And the way that we get around that is by actually just practicing it. So if you can break it and you make it 3 times stronger, it's probably got a 3 times safety factor.
We noticed that the Genie almost evolves. You see these little pieces that are improved and fixed up. And nothing wrong with our Genie, obviously, but it's just improvement, continuous improvement as a philosophy as well.
And we try and do that with all of the trailers. With the Maxi Parthian Bowhunter setup, they've already sort of gone through that life cycle where we've come back to not the starting blocks, but we've said, okay, we now gone through the whole thing, we've amended all the designs, and this is where we'll probably stay. So I don't see there being any crazy updates there. But where it comes to customer support, it's important for us to make sure that our customers feel like they are looked after in the way that if something breaks that's not supposed to break, then we will generally fix that. There are obviously scenarios that we've had in the past where it's misuse or something like that, but it's generally quite easy to tell.
Thank you very much, Sky. It was a great interview, and thank you for taking us, both Heather and myself, around the plant as well. Very, very interesting, and it was great to see where our Genie came from.
No, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad that you guys came through and that you can actually see what's going on here. It's also good for other customers to see what's going on.
Yeah, excellent. And it was nice putting a face to the person you speak to, either on email or WhatsApp or over the phone. So,
absolutely.
And thank you very much. If you need more information about Metalian trailers, you can contact Gareth at Metalian. Thank you very much to Robert Hofmeyr from Moving Pictures Africa for his content on the Genie X Prototype. He's busy testing the prototype in Botswana, and we'll add a link to his video in the description. If you would like to see more of our content, like and subscribe.